Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for February 20th, 2024. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter. We suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. We're also streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. We're going to start by recapping last week's Weekly Tittle, which was called Nurture a Relationship. The assignment was to work toward improving a relationship that suffered as a result of clutter. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook who mended a fence this week, or at least opened up negotiations.
All right. Started to talk about it, maybe.
Please let us know in the comments. YouTube viewer Jimmy shared her solution to a relationship clutter issue. This was not really a Till report, but it's a good comment. Jimmy
Yeah.
writes, I put a small trash can and a little laundry basket under the coffee table for my husband's empty cans and dirty socks. 80% of the detritus ends up in the correct place now.
Yay! This
80 is better
compromise,
than zero.
80 is better than zero, 100%.
Well, no, 80%.
Right? 80% is better than having to pick them all up one at a time for sure. So
Yes.
I totally get this approach is a very effective compromise. She might prefer if he put his empty cans in the trash or the recycling bin, and he might she would wish his dirty socks went into the laundry, but he also might be content to leave them all on the coffee table or the floor of the couch. So she's still coming out ahead with the solution. It's a reasonable compromise that makes cleaning up and doing laundry easier for her. And also, she can quickly grab the trash can and the laundry basket and take them out if somebody shows up unexpectedly for a visit. So I think it's a great solution that really helps minimize what Jimmy has to deal with on her end and makes it super easy for him to participate in the process. Very brilliant solution, Jimmy. Thank you for sharing it with us. I think it was a very great, it was a perfect example of coming up with a compromise and that is effective. And so thanks for sharing.
Compromise and accommodating your different habits and desires. It really
Apparently
it
his
hit
habit is to take to take his socks off at the couch and leave them there. And
right.
so she's working with that habit by giving him someplace to put them. So totally works,
Good for her.
right?
Well, all right. We actually no one has chimed in with a further tittle report. So, oh, wait, I do have one. Sorry. Teresa says, I got my sister to offer to help me to hang some clothes while I am ill. She has never done this.
Oh, well, that's great. I'm glad that she came up with a way to be supportive for you while you're not feeling well. So that's awesome. Congrats. I'm glad it worked.
Susie says, managed to take some clothes to Salvation Army and a set of dishes to Goodwill. I am going to clean some more dishes and kitchenware to take to Goodwill this week.
Awesome. You're doing great. And you do it a little bit at a time so that it's not terrible. Good job.
All right, I think we'll just dig right into this week's topic and I'll come back with tittle reports if anybody chimes in as we go along.
Okay.
This month presents a rare treat, an extra day on the calendar. Who's looking forward to February 29th? How about using some of that bonus time to get a jump on your spring cleaning by drafting a project plan? Today, we're going to peek into often neglected corners of our lives and share a list of simple cleaning chores where you can rack up big spring wins.
Spring cleaning traditions in various cultures go back thousands of years. Some traditions have their roots in religious holidays and practices, while others are grounded in the practical considerations of living cooped up in stuffy heated homes through the cold winter months. Spring was a traditional time to clean up the messes left behind by wood fires and coal furnaces and all the residue of months of indoor togetherness. Nowadays, we mostly don't heat our homes with firewood and coal anymore, or bring in straw to make our stone floors feel warmer to walk on. So,
or dirt floors.
or dirt floors, right? So those winter messes are not our spring projects anymore. We grew up with more modern traditions of spring cleaning, and those are the questions we asked in our survey this week. So we can start by talking about our survey results. We asked our audience which projects or tasks they think of as spring cleaning, in air quotes, spring cleaning, and what challenges or difficulties these chores present. Our viewers and listeners offered a lot of different interpretations of the phrase. Some of you think of spring cleaning as a comprehensive once over of the entire house, even including the garden and the yard. I have to admit that I do look at the garden and the yard and think I should do something out there, and then I never quite get that far. I'm
It's
not
it's
a
spring.
yard
It's the
girl.
annual time when you look at the yard and think you should do something and then forget it again for 12 months.
Right? Other people consider spring cleaning to be the time to tackle areas that don't get regular attention throughout the year, like the basement or the closets, behind and under the heavy furniture, or other less visible low traffic areas. Some of you set aside time in the spring for all the areas where you don't want to spend time in the cold or very hot weather, the porch, the patio, the balcony, garage, deck, and so on. And some of you have rejected the idea of spring cleaning as too cumbersome or overwhelming, choosing instead to spread the work throughout the whole year, to make it all spread over 12 months. Lisa Beth says, spring cleaning to me means cleaning every inch of the house, including things like behind the fridge and large pieces of furniture. I used to do it every spring before any fun could occur. Life had challenges, and I discovered the Fly Lady and came up with the idea that it didn't have to be a punishment. Then I came across you, the Clutter Fairy, and the idea that my house didn't have to be a punishment as well. I've divided this high-ceilinged 17-room plus basement and attic task with tons of outdoor space into zones for each month, and it's doable. I'm back to loving gardening and my little project, including crafts with my granddaughter. So that's awesome. She used to have it be all one thing in spring, and instead she shifted to the Fly Lady concept of, go through a zone every month, deep clean something every month. And that way it's spread out more, and she has more time to do stuff that she likes better. So that's good. Most of her survey respondents had a generally positive view of spring cleaning, and here are a few of the impressions that you shared with us in the survey. M said, my mother kept the house so clean that spring cleaning was just about the same, except that the windows were open and clean. Chilly air was filling the house. We'd have to put on jackets, but afterwards, the house smelled as nice as sheets had been dried outside on the clothesline. That's a lovely idea of opening the windows and letting all the air come in. Yeah, and someone else, anonymous, said exhilaration at airing out the house. And Jane from Saskatchewan says, the climate is extreme where I reside. Temperatures down to minus 40 Celsius in winters and up to 40 in summers. Opening windows for fresh air on warm winter days or in spring is joyous. So I think everybody likes the idea of spring coming and letting the fresh air come into the house finally after having to be closed up for so long. But the feedback wasn't all good. Here's some comments on the topics of the challenges of spring cleaning. Janice suggested that spring cleaning is fun and awful at the same time. It involves delving into corners ignored for most of the year. It's fun when you find $10 in a jacket pocket, but it's not fun when you find an old Kleenex. That's true. I like that visual a lot. Aha, $10. Oh, gross, a Kleenex. That was a perfect example. Anonymous person wrote in that spring cleaning is a top to bottom house cleaning, including under and behind the furniture. I'm getting older and much less able to do this. I did spring and fall cleaning for many years. So she's saying that she used to do it, and now it's a little bit hard for her. She's having a harder time. And that's something to talk about and address, about how to adapt when it's starting to be too hard for you to do. And we'll talk about that a little bit. PJ says, spring cleaning for me represents opening the house back up after hibernating all winter, washing and opening the windows to hear the bird song, cleaning up the dust, letting in the fresh air and the light, washing all the linens and the sofa covers. It's a lot of work, so it can feel a bit overwhelming. I like to tackle it one room at a time, so I have somewhere I can relax straight away. And if the cold weather comes back for a spell, I can go back to hibernating somewhere else. That's a great idea. Make sure your all of the cold weather has actually gone by the time you get done. That's good. And Jane said, spring cleaning means a thorough house cleaning for me. This year, I'm hiring someone to come and to help with this. Having someone else help will hopefully get to areas I normally don't do well, like the windows. I think that's a great, in answer to the previous thing about it's getting too hard to do it yourself. This is a perfect time of year to enlist support, whether you hire in a cleaning service to come and do some of the work, or whether you recruit, someone younger to come and support you to do some of the cleaning. I think it's totally worth thinking about that. That's money well spent to let younger people and people with tools and professionals that do it all the time to come in and make a dent. Will they do 100% of it? No, they're not you, and they're not going to know exactly what you would do, but they're going to knock out 80% of it, and they're going to leave you with 20% left. And so getting support to spending the money to let somebody do 80% of it, and you come in and spend your energy on 20%, totally worth it. Thanks to everybody for your great feedback and your explanations of what you clean for spring. Since everybody did a really good job of explaining their own routines, I thought I'd just add my ideas of especially areas to work on. These are tasks that naturally make sense to me to work on at this time of year. So here's my list of spring cleaning projects. I would start off, and I often start off by running all the winter gear through the laundry. All those coats and hats, scarves and mittens, they've been worn and sweated in and gotten dirty over the season. So it's time to launder or dry clean them before putting those items away for the season. You don't really want to put a coat that's been sweated in a lot back into the closet for this rest of the year. Don't forget to filter for anything that's worn out, that doesn't fit well anymore, it isn't interesting to you anymore. Before you go putting it all back, wash it and then go yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and send the no's on down the road. So you can put back what you know you actually want and use, and let the rest of it go away. After all that laundry, that's extra laundry, doing all of those clothes and gear, now it's a good time to clear off and clean the washer and the dryer. The other day, I found a sock of mine that had gotten trapped under the large rubber gasket in my front load washer. And when I realized it was there, I pulled it out. It was so disgusting. It was clearly, it had been there for some time, and it had been through a million washes, and it was uber extra gross. And it went straight in the trash. Sorry, can't recover that sock. Goodbye. But it made me notice that there were areas in around the gasket that had accumulated some gradu. There was dirt in there. And so it's time to get out of those extra Clorox wipes that you bought during the pandemic and use them to wipe down the outside and the inside edges of the washer and the dryer. They collect dust too. And you can go inside and wipe down the edges where little, as you put in dirty clothes, you're leaving behind dust and dirt on the edges of things, the surfaces that you cross with the clothes. And so there's all those little edges that can be wiped down with Clorox wipes and clean them up again. You don't notice them because you go in and out of the laundry as quickly as possible most of the time, I'm sure. But it's a great place to get in there and pay attention. And people who accumulate and empty pockets at the washer, for instance, there's usually a bunch of stuff on top of the washer that came out of clothes before you put them in the laundry, or you found it in the laundry later when the laundry came out and you realized you missed getting that out of a pocket. And so there's lots of stuff sitting on top of the washer and the dryer. And so it's a good time to go in, fluff that, clean up the spills, dust off the surface, wipe down the surface, and get it fresh for a new season. So You also want to think about the lint area that usually has a screen that you can pull out and wipe out. But then you need to get that vent brush, that dryer vent brush, and get in there and, pull out all the lint for the season. I'm sure you've been washing things in the winter and you've accumulated a bunch of lint in there, and it's a fire hazard at some point. So if you're going to clean the washer dryer anyway, get out that lint brush and take the time to scoop it all out. See if you can get rid of some of it. Okay, the next one. The seasonal change is a good time to review your pantry contents. If there's kinds of things that you can cook, they change at this time of year. For example, you shift from hot soups and big casseroles to salads and grilled treats. So there may be some ingredients that you might want to use up, so there's less stuff in your pantry that's going to sit for 6 months before you try to use it again. Make room for the next season staples and reduce what you're holding for this almost over winter season. I'm thinking of, the ingredients to make dense soups, the stuff to make stews. There's all kinds
everything
of
you got for Christmas cookies, the decorative the sprinkles and things like that.
Yeah. The Thanksgiving, the extra things that you only cook at Thanksgiving, and then you end up with leftovers of that. And so maybe you just need to pull those out and use them up, and because you're going to go buy some more Thanksgiving next year. So now's the time to just sort of flip. I mean, I don't often think of flipping the pantry, but it's true that there's things that you concentrate on during the spring and the summer and the fall and the winter. The types of food that you make changes, and so you're at the end of winter, so you can thin down the contents of winter and use them up, and then you're storing less, pushing the less of that stuff in the back, moving it out of the way, and you're not filling up half the pantry with stuff you're not going to use for 6 months. So think about thinning it down and using it up just like you would the contents of your fridge, and make some space for the new stuff that's going to come in for the new season. That's for all you, active cooks out there. If you're fluffing the pantry, you might as well clean out the fridge again. It's getting constant use, and it needs to be cleaned on a frequent rotation. And you don't have to do it all in one sitting. This is one of those things where the idea of tackling the entire fridge is a little overwhelming, but you can do a shelf each day, or a drawer, or, pulling out a drawer, doing the door, one side of the door and the other side of the door. You can do those each as a section until you've turned it all over fresh. If you do one of those, maybe it'll take you a week, maybe it'll take you 2 weeks to get all the way through the fridge and the freezer, but it'll be great for you to be throwing out stuff, because again, you're going to be buying new kinds of food to start cooking with for the new season. So good time to clean it up.
Dawn says we have a big family dinner on Easter, so that's a good time to use up holiday type food we won't use in the summer.
Oh, good point. Very good point. And it's also, that large scale meal prep, right? Like you're having a bunch of people over, you're serving 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, maybe, if that's your thing. And so it's one where you buy a lot of volume and serve a lot of volume all at once. So maybe you can work in some of those things that you're trying to, roll out of your pantry and serve them up.
Make one of those giant, this is everything we needed to use up casseroles.
Right. Exactly. And everybody will love it. And you can send them home with leftovers.
Whether they like it or not.
Whether they like it or not. Exactly. But it is the idea that, that's the time of year when you have to have room in the fridge and the pantry to pull all those ingredients out and make that big meal. And then after it's over with, you can sort of reset everything, right? Like that's like an official spring turnover, and you can get in there and clear out the fridge now and clear out the pantry afterwards, and try to reset for the coming season. You might want to ask if you and your pets have been trekking in mud and water and debris all winter on your shoes or their paws, which I'm sure they have been. Now might be a good time to tackle all those muddy shoes and boots. Whatever can go in the washer should go, and the rest needs scrubbing at the sink, or at the very least a good brushing outside to get the dried dirt off of boots. Add mopping the floor and washing the rugs to the list for a mudroom freshening up. There's always that area where everybody goes in and out and they're constantly tracking stuff, and you have a hard time keeping up with the debris that they bring in. So now's the time. Some of that's going to go away. The leaves are gone. The dead winter greenery is all the stuff that's been trackable because it's been dead and sitting out there is going to be gone now. And so you can clean it up and get ready for the spring. In winter, we get out tons of blankets and throws and wraps to use sitting around the house. You're about to put all those away. So it's time to wash them all before they return to the linen closets and the trunks that they came out of. Just like putting Christmas away, you have to rearrange everything to get all the blankets put up and out of the way. So this is also a good time to check the linens to see whether anything is ready to go to the vet hospital or the animal shelter. Then you can resort, refold, and restack everything, including the freshly washed blankets that are no longer needed. Even if you aren't quite there yet, you can get started by reducing the blankets that are out right now and prep the linen closet to receive what you've washed so far. Then when all of them can be put away, the closet will be ready for them. So think of it as I got to shove these blankets in here anyway. I might as well deal with the linen closet, freshen it up, pull things out that can go, and make space for the blankets and put them away. And just like the comment that we got earlier about she does one room at a time so that if cold weather shows back up again for a minute, she can go to a room that hasn't been done yet to get wintry again for a minute, for the few days. You can prep this linen closet and just reduce the volume of blankets that are out and leave a few out just in case, and do the most of the work now. And then when it truly has turned over and the cold weather isn't coming anymore, you can do the last of them and put the last of them away. If you're one of those people that collects scented body wash or shampoo for every season, now's the time to take the winter and holiday scents out of the shower and replace them with spring scents. And check your whole inventory to see how large it is. Find out what you have too much of, what can be thinned out, and determine which scents you tried and you didn't like so much after all, because you know there were some. You pulled them out and you thought, that's not really as good. I didn't like that one as much, whatever. We all have our favorites, and we all have some that we think we're going to like and then we don't like as much. So think of your own reaction to the smells and pull out the ones that didn't actually pass muster after all. Look for those bottles that have small amounts left and try to use them up first before you start a brand new bottle. And if the scents that you're retiring also have a small amount, you might try to use those up and not put them away with, a little bit at the bottom of a tall bottle. So if you can use one up, go ahead. And otherwise, pull those bottles out. Don't forget to clean them off. They have dribbles on the side. They're soapy on the outside. And you don't want to put that stickiness into your cabinets or shelves. So the bottles that you determine to keep, clean them off, put them away, bring out the new scents, and look for low volume bottles to start with so that you can clear out some empties as well.
It seems to me like this is a question we might survey on sometime. I think there are two sorts of people. There are people who get some delight out of finishing off a bottle so you can rinse it and throw it in recycling. And then there are people who get less and less interested as a bottle gets lower.
Right. That's true.
There's some people who that's just their disposition. There's something more appealing about serving yourself shampoo out of the full bottle instead of the bottle that only has this much left.
Right.
I don't know.
And then that bottle with a little bit left goes on a shelf somewhere and never comes out again, right?
Yeah, or just sits there moldering in the shower stall.
Right. Right. Yeah. Oh, that is a good question, because I know that's true for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't ever want to do that. And I take great delight in merging the ones that are, partially used and getting rid of a bottle and using something up until it's completely gone and throwing that bottle away. I get great satisfaction out of that. You're so right. That's so funny. Okay. The next suggestion is take a minute now to think about where you and your family have been hunkered down over the winter. Where did everyone curl up and try to stay cozy during the freezing weather? It's time to check those seating areas and the related tables that are next to them for detritus that needs cleaning or clearing up. Maybe there are a million books sitting out or a pile of mail or magazines that got set aside to snuggle instead. There might be some kitchen stuff that needs to be returned to the kitchen or trash that needs to be cleared out. So check out everyone's winter nest and see what can be done to clear it out. I'm guessing that the kids probably nested in a different area than the parents. And even so, everybody had their favorite sitting corner with their favorite blankets and their favorite stuff. And so now's the time to sort of unwind all of that and put those things away, because we are not going to be nesting so much anymore, trying to stay warm. So it's a good place to go and clean and refresh. Many of you mentioned opening the doors and the windows to let the fresh air circulate, which is great, but it got me thinking about the random surfaces related to windows and doors. Think of all the windowsills and the molding around the windows and doors, the baseboards and the crown molding. Those surfaces get dirty and collect dust, but they often get missed in the routine cleaning. So make it a project to vacuum, wipe down, dust those surfaces as part of the window cleaning project. If you're going to do the windows anyway, or if you're going to hire somebody to do the windows, then you can come in and be dusting and doing the window sills and the molding around the windows and the door frames and that kind of stuff. And let that be your contribution to the project. You also mentioned dealing with window cleaning, and I think that's a good one. Cleaning the windows is a chore for sure, but this is a great one to hire out. If you can't manage the windows yourself anymore, or maybe you have a 2-story house and you've got you got windows on 2 levels that you got to deal with, better to hire that out to the person who has the power washer and the ladder that needed to get everything done, especially if your house is 2-storied. Why not invest, right? And why not invest in someone else doing the job for you? Save your back and get it done in one day. Again, that is a once a year expense that seems to me totally worth the money. If you can get professionals to come and blast all the windows outside at once, they're going to use professional equipment. They're going to be there for a few hours and get it all done in one sitting. And you don't have a broken back and they have all the right equipment. And so A, you don't have to find the equipment and buy it. And B, you can be cleaning and dusting on the inside while they're blasting everything on the outside. So I think that is a great way to spend a little bit of money to be supportive of yourself. And my last comment about help when you feel like it's too much for you to do right now is it's a perfect time in the spring to hire a cleaning service to come and tackle a big portion of the house. If they can make a big dent on a lot of the house, then you can use your limited energies to work on specialty areas and projects that they won't cover. I think it's worth a few $100s to have a team come to the house and beat back winter and help you start spring feeling fresh in your home and not feeling overwhelmed and physically unable to tackle all of it. So hire some people. Again, this is a good time of year for one-time expense of having someone come in and hit it all at once. They'll come with more than one person. They come with all the equipment. And then you have a transformed house in one day. And you can spend your time going behind and doing various small projects after they're gone. And won't that be a big relief to let the majority of the work be handled by somebody else? So if you can swing it, I think it's worth spending money on someone professional cleaning the windows outside, someone professional doing some cleaning inside, so that you don't have that big burden yourself. Hope that's enough projects for you.
Okay, we have lots of comments, so let's get to some comments. Cast Iron shared, my 23-year-old pilot son made me so happy this past week when his huge practice flight simulator that he built in our basement finally sold on Marketplace and was moved out piece by piece. Empty space is happy space.
A practice flight simulator, that must have been big.
Right?
That must have had a big footprint. Wow, I bet you are relieved to see that go.
Naomi says, I am helping a disabled friend declutter. I have to be her arms and legs, but she has to make all the decisions, except when I sort of strongly imply something by my tone of voice when I say keep or donate.
Keep or donate? Don't you
She
think you need
is
to donate this?
she is very happy to see clear space appear. I am getting a lot of gratification from doing it without having any of the mental stress of making decisions.
There you go. Because you're being the labor, right? And so, and you're sort of steering the project and letting her make the decisions. That's great. And it's very kind of you to help. You're being a Clutter Fairy minion right now. So, woo, I'm proud of you. And I'm sure that you're providing a service that she really can't do for herself right now. And how great that you're stepping up to be useful. And you're going to make her environment better and easier for her to navigate because you're taking out stuff that doesn't need to be there anymore. So good for you. Thank you for doing that.
Jane in California reports, last weekend I went through photo boxes. The goal was getting rid of trash, decluttering, and to pull out items that should be in memory boxes. Where family relationship comes in, this is tying it to the tittle. I
Oh,
found
right.
several very old pictures. I texted pictures of them to a cousin. She said she would love to have them without my even having to ask. I didn't want to burden others with them and was grateful she proactively said she'd like to have them. I'm going to scan the pictures so I have copies and can post them on Ancestry, and I'm grateful my cousin wants the originals. It would have been very hard for me to throw them away.
Right. But that's great that she wants them. And so now you have a project to pack up a box and send it her way. Good job. That's a good result of you getting in there and looking at the photos for a while and doing some processing on them. Good for you.
Susie reports, I checked the pantry. Several things past the best use by date, but hopefully still usable. I need to make a point of using them first.
Yes, use them now. Put them at the front of the pantry, get them out, make them happen. And there will be some where you use them and you'll be like, really shouldn't have done that. You may find that some of them were past their use by date, and when you actually use them, they create an inferior food product for you. So it'll be a good experiment to see which ones still tasted okay and which ones didn't taste okay when you used them.
Ginger says, apparently I thought we were going to make lots of different pies. I had frozen pie crusts and cans of pie filling. I passed them to the young family next door. Great neighbors. They cook a lot with 4 kids, and they frequently bring us dinner.
Hey,
That's a great
well,
solution to
that's a great
excess
solution.
holiday food. Give it to someone who will cook it and give it back to you in cooked form.
Right? That's pretty awesome. I like that pathway a lot. That's like, ooh, I want that neighbor to move in next door to me. I'm happy to send groceries over there if I get food back. That's awesome. Ooh. And the pie thing can be quiche and it can be pie and it can be like casserole, it can be savory filling meat pie. I mean, there's all kinds of things they can do with those pie crusts. So
Oh
maybe
yeah,
you'll get some pie dinner back.
you can make a super easy cookie with just pie crust. Just flatten it out and put cinnamon and sugar,
Oh, there you go.
butter, cinnamon, sugar. Cut it up, bake it. Good stuff.
Says the kitchen expert.
M said, I clean the screen part of the lint trap every laundry day. Would there still be lint down inside? And a couple of people
Yes.
chimed in and said, yeah, you have to worry about what escapes the lint trap and gets into the vent. And we don't want to get I don't want to get deep in the weeds on that. You know how much of a problem it is and how dangerous it is depends on your setup
Mm-hmm.
um and how much lint accumulates. But get your handyman person in the household, or your if you live in an apartment, get your maintenance people to take a look and make sure that everything from the dryer to the outside of the house gets cleared at least once a year.
And they make specialty sort of flexible long handle brushes to do it so that you can pull the lint trap out and go in with this brush and push it down in through and clear out the excess that goes by. So yes, please.
You remember how we talked last week about we were reporting on the procrastination episode, Tittle, and we said
Yes.
we'd probably hear about these later.
Yes.
Michelle from Yorkshire reports, I had a major win this last 2 weeks. I didn't do the co-living tittle this week as the DH is away, but I circled back to the procrastination tittle.
Ah.
I had been procrastinating about various DIY jobs around the house, with the tools and supplies for these stacked up in the utility room. Spurred on by having guests last weekend, I completed many of the tasks I'd been putting off because I wasn't sure in my ability, including removing silicone from the bath and reapplying, tidied the guest room, fixed the curtain rail, and then took the suitcase and bags of donations to the charity shop. The guest room wasn't perfect. There is still a pile of art to go through, but the room was clean and presentable for guests, and I have also cleaned the house from top to bottom, so a good start to spring cleaning. I would submit if the guest room was clean and presentable for guests, it was perfect.
Right? That is the end goal. And how great that you blasted through those projects, and especially because the supplies have been sitting there in your way, mocking you all this time. And so you shut down a bunch of that conversation by going and making those projects happen. We're going to cheer for you. Good
Yay!
job. That's excellent, Michelle. I'm so proud of you. And I'm sure it was such a relief when you got it done. It's like, oh, this wasn't that bad. Or even if it was irritating to do it, you got it done and now it's not a problem. It's off your list. So good job.
She goes on to say, after they had gone, I also went through my knitwear and selected 15 items of knitwear to go. I have
Mm.
now devised a set of criteria for the art. Do I like it enough to frame slash reframe it and hang it, or am I over it?
Hmm.
We that was actually a tittle from even further back when we were talking about decor. We were talking about
Right,
art
right.
and decorative items and about developing your own set of criteria so that you can
For what stays.
for what you're keeping, what makes the cut.
It's weird how we accumulate artwork and somehow, we inherit that picture, or it shows up as a gift, or some of it you pick, but there's always art in your house that you didn't pick. Maybe you inherited it, maybe it was your mother's favorite picture or whatever, but there's always art that shows up and then nobody really knows what to do with it. They're like, I wouldn't hang this up in my house, but it's art, and so I can't do anything about it. Like it does bottleneck for people for some reason. And I see these little collections in everyone's home. There's always artwork somewhere in some closet, under some bed, behind some door. Like there's always the cache of here's the artwork that we don't have any place to put, or we just inherited and we don't like it, whatever. It's a common problem. So good for you that you came up with a criteria and move it along and let somebody else have it if you don't want it.
Connie suggested another item for spring checklists, and that
Mm.
is check if your passports are still valid.
Oh, what a
If
good
you
one.
if you might have some summer travel plans.
Right? Because it's going to take, you can pay extra to have it done expedited, but who wants to increase the renewal fee
Yeah, it's
by,
expensive enough at the regular
yeah,
rate. Yeah.
yeah, by several $100s to get it done in 2 weeks because you booked a trip and you got to have it. So that's a great reminder. Thank you. And how perfect if you send it in now, it's February, and you give them a couple of months. You can pay for expedited services and get it turned around in 8 weeks, and then it'll be back, at the end of April, the beginning of May, in time for you to go somewhere in the summer. So what a great idea. I know these details because I just did it for someone. I just did the paperwork and filled out the process for somebody that's got a cruise scheduled in July. And so someone, and actually their passport doesn't expire until November. So it's good for the trip. But someone suggested that sometimes the countries that you go to are
Oh,
not
yeah.
comfortable with a passport that's about to expire when you come in on one that's
Right.
about to expire. And so they suggested that he get it done, refreshed before they go, because it's going to expire, 3 or 4 months after he's on this trip. So I
Yeah.
hadn't heard that before, but I thought it was good advice.
I have heard that. Ginger said, we're minimalist with bath products. Very few products use it up to the very end. add water to use up the last drops.
Shake
If
it around, shake it a lot.
if
I do that too.
if there was ever a soap product we didn't use, it got used to clean toilets for a while.
Hey man, soap is soap, right?
And Pat mentions that as a fly lady trick. Naomi says, I am a compulsive user up of almost empties. True confessions. I even retrieve other people's laundry jugs from the trash to rinse out for one last load of laundry in the common laundry room down the hall.
Oh,
Now
interesting.
that is frugal.
That is seriously, making sure that nothing goes to waste. I love it. I have to confess that I turn the bottle upside down as
Right?
it's getting to the end and let it sit there upside down and drain for a couple of days and then use that as the last load. And then I feel like I've gotten as much out of it as I can and I'm happy to throw it away. But I do that because man, I had one time somebody told me she'd grown up really poor and they got to the end of the bottle of lotion, a big tall bottle, and nothing was coming out anymore. And so she went to go throw it away and her mother said, no, we're not done with that. And she got out the scissors and she cut the bottle open. She
Slice the
cut
bottle
straight across
open.
the bottle and flipped it, pulled the top off. And sure enough, there was all kinds of lotion on the inside edges of this bottle. And they got in there and used all that stuff up. And I thought, now that is somebody that is pinching some pennies. But she was 100% right because those containers are not
Oh yeah.
designed for 100% usage. They're just designed for easy pump, right?
And
Or squeeze. So,
throw it away and go buy more is
right.
the objective for the people selling it to you.
Just like people that use toothbrushes and squeeze them all, they either do or don't figure out a way to squeeze it all the way down and get all the toothpaste out of it.
Um,
That just stuck in my mind forever. I've heard that story 40 years ago, and I still have the visual of the woman talking, gesturing in the air of the bottle and cutting the bottle open like that and showing her like, here, look at all this lotion that's still in the bottle. Her mother giving her a lesson on being frugal.
Seuss chimed in on the subject of using things up. She said, my son used to open a new bottle before the old one was used up. I was
Oh, I hate
always
that.
using up the leftovers of soap and foods because I'm a use it to the last drop person.
Isn't that funny? It's one of those personal preference things you don't realize that not everybody does it the same way.
And Seuss says, I've been deep decluttering our garage and wood workshop.
Mm.
More like hibernation cleaning, therapy cleaning.
Ah, that's a good
And
thing.
because the property we were buying didn't happen, she said. So that's why she needs some therapy cleaning.
Oh, but how great to be digging out the garage and making it more usable and more airy, I guess is the word that comes to mind. The garage always accumulates so much randomness that it's really great when you can thin it out and make some space in there to move around. So good for you. That's a good, therapeutic technique as well. Glad you're taking care of yourself around that. That's awesome.
Ginger says we have a handyman to flush out our dryer system through to the outside vent. I have the special brushes to clean the vent and vacuum it out during the year. Hubby is a retired police officer, so he lands on the caution side. He's seen a few house fires from dryers.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. At some point, the heated up lint can catch on fire. And so
Yeah.
it becomes a safety hazard when the lint is very dense. And I will say, having just done this whole so I've been working on this estate and they pulled out a huge amount of torn linens, old fabric, old pillowcases and blankets that were at least 40 or 50 years old. Some of them I could tell that they had been inherited from other relatives. It was a huge pile of things that we wanted to go to the vet. And when I got them home, they were on my car. And when I pulled them out, they were all really musty and dusty smelling. And I thought, I can't just send these off to the vet without trying to wash them first. And so I did about 12 loads of laundry with all of these old linens. And every time they came out of the dryer, my dryer vent, the catch was completely full of lint. And it just reminded me how old fabrics start to deteriorate and come apart over time. And that was reflected in my lint trap for sure, that there was so much more in there than normal from me doing all these loads. And so that's why I'm a little bit more aware right now, because I've been pulling out the lint trap and having to clean it off completely when my normal laundry doesn't ever look like that, because my stuff is more modern and you know, it's newer and it's not as
It's newer, so
deteriorated,
it's
right?
not,
So
yeah, it's not giving off as much
it's
lint.
not throwing off as much lint, exactly. So it was a good reminder. Oh yeah, I probably should get in there. Now that I've done all these like 12 loads of laundry that were throwing lint like crazy, I should probably get in there and clean out the vent. That's on my things to do list.
Diana suggested one more spring cleaning chore. Don't forget to change smoke detector batteries and remove any dust on the smoke detector itself.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a
Yeah,
very
it's a
good
good,
point up
good,
there,
good time of year for that.
right?
Last comment I'm going to share. Maureen says, great topic. We call spring cleaning first communion cleaning. You know, when you clean windows and baseboards because the priest, teachers, and all your family are coming over after your child's big day.
There you go. Nothing like the public spectacle event to
Right.
make you clean the windows, right? Good job. I love that visual. That's great.
Let's talk about next week.
Okay.
We are going to be back next week at the usual time. That is February 27th at noon US Central Time. We're going to be back for another Ask Us Anything episode, answering viewer and listener questions and discussing short topics suggested by our audience in our surveys and through our social media channels. Next week, we're going to talk about striving for balance between convenience and clarity, how to avoid falling victim to ads and consumerist messages, and the organizing and cluttering styles among siblings. Join us on February 27th for Convenience versus Clutter, Avoiding Consumerism, and Cluttered Siblings.
Those were all really interesting topics that we got suggested to us in the surveys. And we both immediately started talking about all of them. Oh, I have all this to say about that topic. So we are going to have some interesting time getting ready for that show. So hopefully you'll see you there next week.
Why don't you give us the tittle?
Okay, this week's tittle is a fresh start. This week's assignment is to come up with a plan for tasks to include in your spring cleaning regimen and ones to leave out. So brainstorm a list of household cleaning or maintenance chores that you'd like to accomplish at least once a year, and then pick no more than 3 items from your list. These will serve as your spring cleaning agenda this year. Get out your calendar or planner and set dates throughout the year to handle the rest of your annual cleaning list. You might assign one chore per month or group projects together into plans for the start of each new season. So maybe you want to do something to get ready for spring, something to get ready for summer, something to get ready for the holiday season, vice versa. So you can make that calendar how you wish and set up the dates how you wish, but hopefully you have a list of maintenance chores that you can spread out over the year. And we're just going to let you pick 3 that will go for the spring. And then write back and tell us how it went.
All right. If you're watching this on YouTube, we would love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook, or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from you, so please keep your questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Thanks everybody for joining us. I hope that you feel inspired to do a little bit of spring cleaning and maybe round up some support for the rest of the spring cleaning. Come back and tell us how it went, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.